Bonjour, aujourd'hui c'est le jeudi 30 avril. On va d'abord commencer par un résumé de la lecture 1, et puis je vais vous parler des stratégies pour la lecture et pour un peu comment on va procéder avec la lecture du Petit Prince. Puis enfin, je vais vous présenter la lecture 2. Voilà. Donc la première lecture que je vous ai demandé de faire, c'était à Léon Verte, à la dédicace. Before going into the first reading, I wanted to really quickly say thank you to those of you who participated in the discussion on Canvas. I think those discussions are really great. I was really thrilled to see so much good participation of asking good questions and even responding to each other. I would love to see that going forward. I really want to try to make the most of the Canvas format as a place for us to have as close to a discussion as we might have in class. And it's never going to be quite as spontaneous or quite as immediate or anything like that, but um, I think it can really be helpful for getting an understanding of the text, for working together, and just generally having good communication as a class, which is something that we probably all miss. So yeah, so please do participate in those. I'll talk about those a little bit later. Um, I also wanted to address a question that was asked during the YouTube live session yesterday. So, uh, like I had said, every Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m., I will be doing a YouTube live session where I'll be in front of the camera and I'll be asking questions, or answering questions rather, through chat. And it can be a good time to just check in, but it's also a great place to ask questions if you have questions about the curriculum or grading or things like that. And so one person asked if I'll continue reading the text aloud, and I hadn't thought about it, but you know, our readings will get longer little by little, and so I think it'll become a little bit harder for me to do that, but I'm willing to try. I would like to do that. I'd be happy to read the text aloud to help you with pronunciation, but also to help you kind of process the text. Maybe you'll understand it a little bit better. I'm not sure. Um, I'm happy to provide that. So you can look forward to that for this unit. Another good question that was asked was, will we finish the text before the end of the semester? And I wasn't sure, and I still am not sure. I still need to kind of game that out. I need to do the math of how many pages there are and how many days we have left of class. But my initial response was no. We probably won't be able to finish it reading it at a good pace. We could speed it up and read it really fast and finish before the end of the semester, but I don't think that would help you. I don't think that would help you understand the text. I don't think it would help you get the most out of the text. And I'd also be worried about losing a lot of people along the way. So instead, I'm opting for a slower approach where we go a little bit slower in the beginning and slowly increase the amount of readings. So we'll start with, just that little dedication, and then for next week, I'm asking y'all to read 2 pages, but they're really kind of small pages. Um, and little by little ask you to read more and more. Nothing too arduous, but um, just in the interest of kind of getting into the rhythm of a reading. Yeah, so more on that later. So for the first reading, this was the dedication, and it was kind of a strange dedication. And if you look at the discussion on Canvas, you'll see that a lot of people were kind of rightly confused about the tone of the dedication. Um, because the author is saying Je demande pardon aux enfants d'avoir dédié ce livre à une grande personne. I ask forgiveness of children for having dedicated this book to a grown up, to a big person, not an adult, right? A grown up. It's kind of how children refer to adults. And so that's a strange, it's not typical, right, for a dedication to start with, I ask forgiveness, right? Um, And this is very typical, actually, of French books, French texts. It's kind of classical. It comes from kind of a more Renaissance style of writing, where oftentimes writers were uh, appealing to individuals who are sponsoring their writing and literally paying for them to be able to write. Um, but it's also part of a Catholic tradition, right? So in Catholicism, there is the tradition of um, confession and of this kind of there's this kind of famous idea of Catholic guilt. Uh, in French dedication texts, it's not unheard of to kind of present this image of humility or things like that, or even in prefaces. Um, but this is unique, right? So this is unique in um, it's it's following that pattern, but it's addressing itself to children, and it's asking for children to forgive the author for dedicating this book to a grown-up. And somebody said it threw them for a loop, and I think that's a good expression because it kind of it's the opposite of what you might expect. You know, in a dedication, you might expect somebody to say, "Okay, well, you know, adults, please forgive me for dedicating this book to children." Um, but here we've got the opposite. And so I asked y'all kind of what does that say about the author? What is this humility, this idea of presenting excuses? Is it sincere? Right? Do you think that this is sincere humility? Do you think the author truly believes that they're doing something wrong and that they need forgiveness for it? Or is it kind of a way of playing a role and getting a reaction out of the reader? Um, so again, there's this kind of dichotomy of there's kind of a split between grown-ups and children, and I want you to kind of focus on that. What do children have that grown-ups don't? What do grown-ups have that children don't? And how do they view the world differently? That's going to be a really important kind of focus for the whole book. So again, I won't walk you through the whole dedication, but I really want you to think about that question: what do children have that adults don't? And maybe vice versa, but primarily that. And then also to kind of think about this tone. You know, is the author being sincere? Um, and you know, being insincere isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be kind of charming, right? Um, and so what's the vibe the author's giving off with this? So go ahead and please continue the discussion if you haven't participated already. It might help, and you may still have questions. But otherwise, let's move on to the next reading. So for next week, I'm asking you to read a little bit more. And so you look in distance learning resources, you'll see a link to the class kick. You'll see a discussion in French, a discussion in English, and you'll see in the discussion in French I've included the class kick link and the class kick code. And I really want to see y'all annotate the text. I really want to see you underline stuff and circle stuff. I saw some people circling words that they didn't know, highlighting sentences that they saw were kind of repeating. You know, in that the dedication, we've got j'ai une excuse, j'ai une autre excuse, j'ai une troisième excuse. I saw some people, I think it was Kate, highlighting that thing. And I think that's a really wise thing to do, right? Seeing that repetition and drawing attention to it. So yeah, I really look forward to seeing y'all continue to do that in Class Kick. And I want you to know I'm actually checking those off, right? So uh, Verona is taking the approach of you know, no harm, and essentially grades can only improve your semester grade through distance learning. But UW Green Bay does want grades, and so if you want that credit, the college credit for UW Green Bay, we do have to continue doing work. But like I said, it's going to be a lot of completion work. So what I've done is, this is a screen cap from Power School. For each week, there's a reading. And so for each week, I'll be going into Class Kick and seeing, okay, are you highlighting? Are you underlining? Are you circling? And as long as you've done kind of a minimal amount of that, you'll get full credit for it. I'd love to see y'all get really ambitious with this and really annotate the text, because I think that's a really important thing in reading in general, but especially in reading in a foreign language. So again, it's out of 5 points. I'm just checking it off. Same thing for the discussion. I really want to ask y'all to participate in those discussions with your classmates. Whether it's, and I'd love to see you participate both in the French and the English discussion. So the French discussion is going to be more thematic and more kind of trying to get at what the text is communicating and kind of uh, the the symbolism of the text, whereas the English discussion is going to be more kind of superficial, kind of basic understanding of, oh gosh, I didn't get this word, or oh, I struggled to understand this sentence. And I don't think I included a screen cap of the English discussion, but as you can see, the French discussion is le narrateur raconte une expérience qui lui a changé la vie. Quelle est cette expérience? Comment est-ce qu'elle a changé sa vie? Selon vous, est-ce qu'une bonne chose, une mauvaise chose, que sa vie a changé ainsi? Pourquoi, pourquoi pas? And so oftentimes with these French discussions, I'll ask you not just to say, okay, well, what happened, but also what are your thoughts on what was said? Right? What are your thoughts on this development in the character? And I mentioned to somebody in the YouTube live yesterday, it's not a plot-driven narrative; it's a character-driven narrative. So it's not like there's going to be a big plot twist like you might see in some like Netflix series or something, right? It's going to be more about getting to know a few different characters and really seeing them develop and change over the course of the book. And that's really the beauty of the text, is seeing these characters grow and change. And that's a pretty special thing, and it's kind of what has made this book so powerful for so many people. All right, I'll stop there. I'll go ahead and move forward and make another video of my reading the text aloud, which I look forward to doing, to kind of help y'all follow. But until then, please go ahead and go into Canvas and do that. Please participate in the discussions, please do the reading, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Au revoir.